Hi.
We are.
One of the things that I've experienced in my life is a constant contrast with health. And for the longest time, I've always, like, when I hit 30, I was told, because I had cancer when I was younger, I was told I wouldn't make it to 30. I'm 43 now. And
tick-tock, tick-tock.
Yes, exactly. So most of my life I've been being told by the medical establishment, because when I was in my 20s, I had a brain hemorrhage and a stroke.
But see, they're not factoring in the only thing that matters. They're not factoring in what's in your vortex. They're not factoring in your receptive mode. They're not factoring in your receiving the inspiration. They're not factoring in the things that must be factored in.
Right.
In other words, sometimes the path of least resistance is calling you out. In other words, sometimes that's where what you want is. And sometimes what you want is a manifestation that you're going to translate into a physical experience. You get to decide that, you see. Mm-hmm. You get to decide that, as you already have proven to yourself.
Yes.
So it's time to stop talking about what they said, because clearly they don't know what they're talking about.
No, they don't. And that's one of the things that...
This is the thing about the medical community, and they mean well, and they are the path of least resistance for a lot of people. We are not pushing against them. But one thing that this conversation really demonstrates in an important way is that most things like that are addressing conditions completely. So they're not factoring in anything other than conditions. Those are the statistics and the conditions, and that's how they come to those probabilities. In other words, they look at the now reality and they come to those conclusions. But they don't factor in the energy. They don't factor in the desire. They don't factor in the emotions. They don't factor in the capacity to allow. In fact, because they don't factor it in, they work against that. In other words, if they could just understand the importance of the emotion, they would do more about improving the emotion and less about facing the reality, you see. And so it takes a determined person to find a vibrational, emotional stance that defies the reality that they're pointing right at. But you've managed to do that, haven't you?
Yes.
Yes.
I have. So my next step is, moving forward...
More of the same.
More, well, yes.
The next step is always the path of least resistance.
Yes.
The next step is always the path of least resistance.
My question is, though, is that on an emotional standpoint, not on a spiritual standpoint, I've found myself...
Well, but you can't separate emotion from spirit, because the reason that emotion exists is because spirit has an opinion that is held in juxtaposition with your opinion. And so what emotion is the relationship. It's the relativity between spirit and what's going on in your mind right now. So you cannot take spirit out of emotion. Mm-hmm. Emotion wouldn't exist if spirit wasn't there with a big time point of view.
Yes.
So what were you going to say? Because you were making a good point. We just wanted to clarify something.
For so long, I've been bucking up against what they've been telling me.
Okay, so soften that a little bit. I figured out that listening to them was not my path of least resistance.
And it was not.
Yeah.
It was not.
Yeah.
And for a while it was, because I gave up.
But sometimes it is the path of least resistance for a while until you get your footing.
Yes.
Yeah.
For a while.
They're not doing anything wrong.
Right.
They're just doing what they do. And some of them were the path of least resistance for you for a while, and some of them are not, but it doesn't make any difference. You are where you are, and they were beneficial along the way. So now what?
So now I'm at this point where I'm 43. I've never really expected to live this long. And I'm 43 and I'm...
that can't be true.
Well, I guess you're right.
That can't be true. What you're saying is, my desire was challenged more than I would have liked for it to have been, but my desire obviously played out in very real terms. And it's more likely that I live a long life than anybody I know because of the determination that was focused within me as a result of all of this. My longevity is not in question. It isn't, is it?
No, it's not.
Yeah. Ooh, you know something that almost nobody knows. You know that you get to choose.
Yeah.
Yeah. Against all conditional odds. Because what is doesn't mean diddly squat. All it is a platform from which you launch rockets, and boy, did you ever.
Yes.
Yeah. So your desire for life in this physical body, we can tell you, because we've got the vibe, we can feel what's going on, is as strong as any that we've ever known. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So now all you got to do is get in the receptive mode. In other words, it's really interesting, because most of what we said earlier today was for you, because we wanted you to feel that this is just the way we sell recordings. Because now you're going to have to go back and buy it and listen to it again.
I was planning on it anyway.
But you'll hear these pieces, that rampage that we got on when we were talking to all of you, but especially to you, about how you're an eternal being and you're worthy and blah, 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 blah. And you're going to corrupt, everyone is, and you're going to reemerge into non-physical, and you're going to continue to be. All of that, whether you ever hear from anyone like us or not, all of that is a given, and you come to know that. But there is something so delicious and precise about being here in this physical body and turning those vibrations into full manifestations, and you came to do a whole lot of that. You see. So have fun with it. Have fun with it. And stop telling the story of amazement. In other words, there's something a little screwy about it. I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't even be alive now. I shouldn't even be alive now. And to tell you the truth, I haven't made very many plans, because I didn't expect to live this long. And so,
Well, that's
because
one of the...
that clearly isn't true. Your vortex is full of plans, and that's why you are here.